Alright, welcome to this channel and welcome to today's episode of technical analysis where we'll be dealing with trendline trading. Yes, trendline trading. If you've gone through my channel, you will see other videos on support and resistance, how to trade using chat GPT to make yourself money every day instead of using it for any other thing. And you can still see videos like there's so many videos there that you can see. So just I will advise you stick to this channel, like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and share this channel to your friends so that your friends can actually get the same knowledge that you're getting from this channel. Now, let's head on to business. We'll be dealing with trend line trading for today, different kind of trend line. Now, I want you to understand that trend lines are another form of support and resistance. But then, support and resistance generally is always known in a horizontal zone, like something like this. This is a clear support and resistance, where this red line is the support and resistance region. It is always known in a horizontal form. But then, slanted support and resistance is still a kind of support and resistance. This slanted support and resistance, even trend line, it is still a form of support and resistance. Then broken trend line, we are coming to that, and we're going to talk about all of these things one after the other. Now, I'm going to teach you how you can identify this in the market and how you can trade it. Number one, this is support and resistance. How do you trade this support and resistance? Let's say the market is creating this structure of higher lows, higher highs, and it gets to this point. Now, identify with me. At this particular point, the market rejected. The market hit that particular zone and rejected, then move up again, went to this particular zone, hit that particular line again, and rejected backwards. And then at the third trial, it took out the market, and then coming back, it retested the zone. Now, here is a resistance, here is a resistance, here is a resistance, and then coming to this point, it broke it, and then coming back to it, it rejected, it bounced off here, making it a support. So if you watch my support and resistance video, you will remember I said that a broken resistance can actually turn out to be a support, and a broken support can actually turn out to be a resistance. Now, it bounced off the support and then went up, came down to that support again, bounced off, and equally went up. So here it acted as a resistance, while here is acting as a support. And how are you going to trade it? I already identified that in my previous video. A situation whereby you have to wait for when the support or the resistance is broken, as it happened here. It broke above here, and then you trade on the retest. Wait for the market to retest that particular zone in order to gather enough of demand orders in that zone, so that you can trade it, which is what happened here. It retested the zone, and then the zone held it strong enough. So let's say the market broke this resistance here, and you place your order at that particular support and resistance. When the market is coming back for a retest, it will pick your order, and boom, your buy order, and boom, you make profit. That's exactly how to trade support and resistance. The same thing in slanted support and resistance. You can see that here it is not always horizontal. You can still have a slanted support and resistance where the market is moving this way. First of all, rejected here, acting as a resistance there, then broke above here, went up, came down, retested that zone where you can, here it's acted as a resistance, here is acting as a support, where it can bounce off again and keep going out. So let's assume that after rejecting here and then took out this place, now you made this particular zone your entry, picking your entry around here, making here your SL. You can see that you've taken a very good buy trade from here and then making profit. Now it came back, broke the support here, and then retested on it here, acting as a resistance, and then boom, you are downwards. It came back, retested on it again, which is still a resistance, and then boom, you are downwards. So support and resistance are actually particular zone where you can buy or you can sell. So some people will always say that you should buy the support and sell the resistance. Now let's move over to trend line. Don't forget that after all this illustration on the board, I am still going on the chart. I will still take you people on the chart in order to identify all these patterns, especially the trend line trading and how you can make use of it. Now let's move forward to the trend line. Trend line is a situation whereby it is only meant for a trending market. Are you following? It's only meant for the trending market. And what I, if you watch my market structure video, you identify where I talked about trending markets, ranging market, uptrend and downtrend. Now, let's assume that this market is on an uptrend. You can see it creating higher highs, and higher lows, moving up. Now, at that particular zone where the market is coming back to bounce, go up, coming back to bounce, go up, coming back to bounce, that is the zone that is acting as the support. Remember, I said trend line can equally be a support and resistance in disguise. It can equally be a support and resistance in disguise. Now, it is coming, bouncing on it, bouncing on it. So, how are you going to trade a trending market? It is very simple. If you don't want to wait for this trend to break, as I wrote here, broken trend line, if you don't want it to break before you trade on the retest, you can still trade on the trend. And how are you going to do that? When it is creating your higher highs and your higher lows, your higher highs and your higher lows. Now, it has created, let's assume that we met this market around here. It has created our higher high. Now, I want to trade this trend. Remember, it has rejected two times now. And remember, a strong trend line, once it has been tested up to three times, don't forget, once it has been tested up to three times, there is a high probability that the fourth one or the fifth one, the trend line will be broken. So whenever you see a trend that has been tested 1 and 2 times, it is still safe to take the third leg of the trend, which is here, which is the third leg of this trend. Now, how are you going to do that? When the market created this higher high, let's say we'll make this market around there. Now, you should be having in mind that you are going to take your entry around this demand zone, which is the previous zone where the market is reliable coming to bounce on the trend line. And let's assume you've drawn your trend line already. So you're going to look for a point of interest. I will make a video on point of interest and entries so that you can look for something, something you identify in a zone where you identify it, so that you can take a trade. Mind you, there is a lot of things you need to learn in trading. You don't just trade in isolation. So you have to combine all confluences in order to get exactly what you want and the confirmation before you take any trade. Now, you already know that this market is going to come down on a retest to bounce on that trend line again. So you're going to look for your entry around this particular zone. And then you see the market coming. So the market coming to bounce on that entry, it is equally bouncing on your trend line. And it will pick your this thing. And you can make here your TP and make the last traded higher low your SL. You understand? Make the last higher low your SL and then the last higher high your TP. Then you can take the trade and then you make money from trading just a trending market. But let's assume you want to wait for that trend to be broken first before you can take a trade. Now, that is where here comes in. Some people don't like trading the trend like I did here. They don't like trading the trend like I did here. They will prefer to wait for the trend to be broken first so that they will trade the reverse order. That is, this is an uptrend. They will love to wait for this uptrend to be broken to the downside so that they can ride the market downwards. So they'll have to wait for something like this to occur, where the market broke the trend line here. Are you following? You see where the market broke the trend line here. Now, what are they expecting? They are expecting a retest for this market to retest back up around here in order then boom, they sell. And retesting, they are going to look for their entry around the last the last supply zone, which is around here, making the last traded higher high their SL, and then probably here their TP, or somewhere any of these lows their TP, because they're taking a short trade. So in other words, how are you going to trade a trending market or a broken trend line? Wait for that trend line to be broken, then trade, enter on a retest with a limit order to the last demand zone, equally align it to this trend line, to the place where the trend line is still moving up, so that when it's coming back to retest the trend line, it will pick your order and boom, the market has changed its direction down to the downside. That's exactly how to trade your trend line and how you have to identify it in the market. Now, we are going to head over to our chart to identify this and see some trades I took using trend lines and make some money for yourself. You don't need to know all, But then don't forget, do not trade in isolation. Now let's look at our chart. Now here is it on the chart, where we actually, you can see this trend line that I drew. I drew the trend line, and here it has actually touched here the first one, the first point, the second point, the third point, here the fourth point, that almost broke down, but then it didn't until the last breakout occurred there. Are you following? The last breakout occurred there. And what did I do? Since the last breakout occurred there, what did I do? I'm going to trade the retest, which is exactly what you see that I did here. I actually took a rectangle, marked out the last zone that caused the breakout, the last zone that powered the breakout. I actually mapped it out. When I mapped it out, and then I took my short position, sorry, I took this short position that I placed here, and then this 1:4.09 risk reward ratio, and then it printed that the market changed direction to the downside. But then let's assume that I want to trade the trending market. After this first leg and this second leg, it is safe, just like I explained on the board, it is safe to just map out this zone, the zone which is the last point, as the last higher low that landed on that particular trend line, and then take my long position on that particular zone. Let's assume we met this position, we met this market around there. Just follow my arrow. Let's assume we met this market around there. The market is situated around there where we met this market, and we are seeing two lines of or 2 points where the market has bounced on our trend line, which is here and here. Sorry, here and here. It has bounced on it. Now I map out the previous point where it bounced on it, expecting the market to retest to that point, and then I take my long position, placing it on that trend line there, making here my SL, which is the last traded point that landed on that particular trend line, and making here my TP. Why is here my TP? That is the highest, or the last high, the previous high of that market, which is this particular point, is the previous high, making it my take profit. And you see the market bounced on it, and then boom, we make our money. And this is a 10.92% move in the market. So that is if you want to trade a trending market. But if you want to wait for the market to break, or to break the trend line, just like I explained on the board, then that is where you wait for this particular thing and this particular zone to happen, the break, and then the retest, and boom, we fall down to the downside. You've made your money. That's exactly how support that's exactly how trend line are to be taken and traded perfectly for you to make money with it. Now I will equally show some trade I took using this same trend line on Forex market, but that is volatility index. I think volatility 25 just this morning before making this video. Now here is the particular trade. You can see that I took a trend line on 15 minutes time frame, and then I didn't wait for the trend to break. I actually took the third leg of that particular market coming to that trend line. I waited, I caught the third leg. And how am I going to catch, or how did I manage to catch this third leg of that particular trend line? That is what we'll discuss in our next video. That's where I will talk about entries and POIs, other blocks, and demand and supply zones. I actually use the previous demand zone that will possibly land on my trend line already. Now, remember, I took demand into consideration. I took the trend line into consideration. These two things are already strong confluences. That's why I will always say you should not trade in isolation. Always consider at least 2 to 3 confluence before you can decide on a trade to take. I actually took this trend line, the third leg of the trend line, for the first confluence, then the demand zone, the second confluence, and then I took out the other block, which is my point of interest, my entry pattern on the particular demand zone. I took it out before I was able to take that trade, and boom, it went to the previous high, which is the previous higher high. It went there, which is my TP, and then I've made money. On 15 minutes, before you know it, before 2 hours, you've already printed your money. So that's exactly how you're going to trade Trendline, and that is all for this video. If you find this video very interesting, because we will keep exposing more secrets on how you can trade and make money here totally for free. If you find this video very interesting, why not go ahead to hit the subscribe button and equally share to your friends so that they will come and grab the same knowledge you are grabbing for free. Stay tuned for our next video, and you can equally hit any of these buttons in order to watch our videos that we've made previously in the past.